Hey guys, what we're going to do today is paint a caver, just like that. I'm going to show you how easy it is because I am not a mini painter. I don't have any skills when it comes to sitting down with a tiny brush and painting details and stuff like that. Everything that I've learned was from painting thousands, literally thousands and thousands of terrain tiles and selling them on Etsy. That's really how Severed Books got started. So I am a master of dry brush, and Caver was really, in some ways, designed so almost anybody can paint it because it's big. It's really just a big rock. So here are the steps. Let me just break it down for you. Here, I'll show you. This is what you're going to get when you buy Caver. This pretty gray figure, nice and heavy. You can hear it. Here, let me get the camera down a little bit. Nice and heavy dude. I actually like it like this. I would use this in a game just like this. But if you want to spend a little time to paint it, all you got to do is get some matte black primer, spray paint. This is what I used. And this turned into this guy. All black. So this is what we're going to be painting today. Put this one aside. And you can see it took about 3 layers. Spread it outside to be safe. And he's ready to go. It's ready to go. So I've had this bucket of gray paint for years. I've refilled it a few times, obviously. But this is what I used to paint all my terrain tile with. I just shook it up and got it kind of all over my office. Unfortunately, all over my pants, but that is just the life I lead. I have to embrace it and not get too upset. And this brush, this is funny. I found this. This used to be about this long, so I dry brushed so many things that it's just sort of broken down after a while. You want to find a brush that's a little bit longer. See, I'm already screwing up. Look at that. You want to find a brush that's obviously newer, maybe a brand new one. Go to the shop, the store. These are maybe less than $1 usually. So let's see. I got paint all over myself. So all you want to do is get a sort of medium gray paint. I like that color. And I'm going to dip my brush in there and get I got kind of too much, but you want to just a tiny bit. And we're going to, on a piece of paper, get it dry. Almost like it's not paint anymore. And then, let's go to the back first, just so we're safe. You're just going to scramble the brush over the figure. And within a couple seconds, it's already kind of looking like stone. So let me get a tiny bit more paint. You really got to be careful. You don't want this to be wet when you apply it on the figure, because you're instantly going to get kind of a smearing. You're not going to get the texture or the what's the word? The sort of I can't think of the word that I want. Yeah, I guess texture. You're not going to get the texture that you want, or the appearance, the illusion. You're not going to get the illusion that you're hoping for. But I got a little too much there, but that's fine. Get him on his hand, and even like the nooks and crannies, like down in sort of the negative space down here, it's not hard to get in there with the brush. If I had a real brush, if I had one that was newer and longer and maybe not as wide, I'd be having an easier time. But hey, don't blame the tools. See, I think I got a little too much on that there. That's all right. So from here, I don't know if I'm going to do a time-lapse video or speed it up. I think all in all, it took me, I don't know, 10 minutes last time to do the dry brushing and get it the way that I wanted on the previous one. No one's going to want to watch me do this for 10 minutes. So I'm going to stop here and then come back when I'm done with the dry brush. All right. That's it. I'm pretty happy with it. And as you can see, I wasn't too concerned about getting the dry brush on the boat or the sword or the sabatons, the armored feet, because I'm going to go back in with silver and other colors and touch those up. So you can be a little sloppy when you are going over the dry brush on the rock, because you're going to touch up everything else. So let's do that. I'm going to use, let's see, I got some raw umber acrylic paint. I'm going to use that on the boat. So let's see. Don't need much. And I wish I had better, sort of a larger brush. I think I'm gonna go find, I only grabbed these 3, but I'm gonna go find maybe a wider one. So I did find this really simple brush. Nothing fancy. This is, I think, a watercolor brush that my son uses. So for the boat, I'm just gonna apply this brown. And this is acting like similar to the black, because we're going to do a dry brush of beige over this brown. So you do not have to be too careful. And I'll say it again, like, I am not by any means a professional mini painter, so I'm just sort of making it up as I go here. And if anyone wants to comment, feel free, because there's always room to learn and to improve. But I think this video is hopefully proof that anybody can paint one of these big old cavers. And it's going to be really exciting to see what people do with this guy, this thing, as far as colors and what goes on the base and what kind of like swords. Like, you can give him a fire sword or an ice sword. I'm not going to do that today because I really don't have like the skills to paint flames on a sword. But man, it's going to be cool, hopefully, to see that. And we got the brown for the boat. I think that's all right. Cool. All right, I'm going to let this sit and dry. Maybe I can do the silver on the sword. I'm going to put this aside. So I'm gonna go wash this out and do the silver on the sword. Give me 1 second. All right. So, oops. See how old this thing is. It's just coming apart. There we go. Wash that out, and I got some metallic silver paint. Definitely don't need much for this. Let's see. I'm gonna dry this brush enough. So just like the boat, we're not dry brushing here. We're just like applying the silver right on. And I'm sure there's some mini painters out there that are screaming, there's so many cooler ways to do that and make it more realistic. But today I am going for really just what I can pull off quickly and within my skill set, my limited painting skill set. might, for this one, because now that I have two painted ones, I might go a little more gory on this one. I can add some blood on the sword, and this might need two coats. And on the pommel here, oops, I got it on his hand here. Let's move on to this brush. Gotta get under here, don't I? The cross guard. But yeah, like, I don't know. If you're painting this thing, just make it fun. Like, it doesn't have to look perfect. And luckily it's so darn big that the margin of error is slimmer, much slimmer than most minis. I'm gonna call this sword done. Oops, shoot. I got some silver on his hand again, but whatever. I can touch that up later. So yeah, the boat and the sword. Oh shoot, might as well do the Sabaton feet. Hold on. I think that's a cool word. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Sabaton. The plate armor shoes, and I've been a Mike Mignola fan for, I don't know, 20 years, longer. And there's a story called The Iron Shoes that he wrote and drew for Hellboy. This is sort of a nod to that funny, I think it's a troll character that has the Sabaton armored shoes. Man, this thing is so heavy that it's hurting my wrist. Caver weighs about almost 2 pounds because it's solid PVC. Very durable. We wanted something that's, you know, obviously going to last, but also feels really substantial on the table. I'm noticing I need to go back. There's some dry brushing I need to do between his legs with this other brush that's thinner. You can always go back and do that very easily. If you looked at the Kickstarter page, there's also caver tops that we have planned, meaning that you'll be able to take the caps off the top and place upgrades on top of him. I keep saying him, I should not do that. On top of it, like dragons and crystals and mushrooms and snakes and stuff like that, as upgrades to your caver character, your familiar. And I guess that's like one thing. Sometimes it's hard to communicate because like a lot of people might look at caver and be like, oh, we're gonna battle this thing like it's a big boss, which it could be. You know, I'm not saying you can't have it as like a boss fight, but primarily my thought is these guys are familiars that you can climb inside, customize their guts like a cave, dig out the cave, but then also, much like a mech, you know, bring this dude into battle and have a total clobber fest. So there we go. I'm gonna put it down and let it dry for a while and then come back and do some more detailing. There we go. Pretty easy. All right, we're back. And the boat is dry. The sword is dry. I did just go now and I painted the tree trunk on top there brown. So that's a little wet. That's all right. So now I'm going to take beige. What is this? Oh, it says light mocha. Delicious. I'm going to take that teeniest, tiniest bit and our gray dry brush. do wish I had a thinner dry brush. Might end up using that, but these stiff bristles are really great for what we're going to do now. So just going to kind of spiral very lightly over the brown of the boat, bring out those textures. David Lee Whitaker, I hope I am remembering that name correctly because I haven't communicated with him in a while. He did the sculpt for Caver, and he really did a bang-up job with the details and textures on the boat and stuff. And I thought it was really important to have a smashed half boat shield to really drive home the scale of this dude. You know, I'd say if this boat were not in half, it could fit 8 to 10 minis, you know, miniature people or creatures on it. So you kind of get the idea that, like right away, that this caver is pretty darn enormous. And then one of my favorite details is I designed a anchor right here. We'll paint that silver, an anchor wrapped around his arm, the boat anchor. So that's all I'm going to do for the boat. That's really it. I'm happy with that. And then, oh, you know what? Look at me. I'm touching the, like a real pro, I'm touching the heck out of that stump. It still looks okay. That's how forgiving this thing is, really. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. So, maybe I'll let this brown dry, and then I'll go back and detail. I want to paint some blood on the sword. I think that's going to look pretty killer. So let's take a pause and do that. All right, very last thing I'm going to do for the video is add a little bit of blood on the sword. Don't want to overdo it. So let's just go. What do I have? What kind of color? I got acrylic. This is all acrylic stuff that I'm adding. Deep red. This is all stuff that you can get at like a craft store, Michael's, Joann Fabrics. I think Joann Fabrics sells paint. They must. I'm going to do like tiny little dabs. This is almost like drawing. It's like the way I draw blood anyway. Sort of these little tiny spots, like blood splatters. Guess there could be streaks on the sword, because that's how swords work. But I'm going to go with some splatters. Yeah, that's it. There's no need to watch me paint tiny bits of blood on a sword. You can figure that out. There's nothing new about that. So that's it. This is Caver. Paint it up. Wicked easy. I'm going to put some green on the stump to make it a little more organic looking, maybe some beige highlights on there. But really, that's it. Thanks for watching. I believe I'm going to post this mid Kickstarter campaign. So if you're interested, check out the Kickstarter. 2 books, 2 minis, one for Caver, one for Lou the Cube, this weirdo, and then also the C20, the cave creating D20, Mega D20. Really helpful, really useful. But yeah, thanks for watching, and get on the Caver, man. It's strange. It's a strange thing.